So as Brian said, I'm Andre Charland. I was co-founder and CEO at Natobi, the company that started PhoneGap, and now I'm a director of product management at Adobe, working on PhoneGap and a lot of other cool things. So I have the dubious honor of saying a few words very quickly so that we can keep things on schedule, because we have a lot of speakers today. We have a lot of amazing speakers. I don't know how to project. Oh, there we go. Perfect. Hamsterdam. Sorry, my thing's kind of slipping here. I'm just going to hold it. So yeah, we got a lot of amazing speakers. I think we should all feel really lucky that we have so many great speakers who have come out. People have traveled from far and wide to come here. I want to give a big shout out and thanks to PPK and the team that organized this event. This is just amazing. The venue is great. Everything looks awesome. So maybe just a quick round of applause for PPK and putting this all together. It's just awesome to see that there's a big community over here in Europe, and that we have people willing to help us with these sorts of events. So we're at PhoneGap 2.1 now, or just about. It's in vote. So release candidates out, just out any day. This is really exciting. We've come a long way since 1.0. So that was about a year ago. So it's PhoneGap's really kind of grown up a lot in the last year. It's a lot more mature. We have more platform support, more contributors than ever. So I think the whole team and community around PhoneGap should be really proud of this accomplishment and all they've done in the last year. And inside of Adobe, we've improved our release cadence, which Brian will talk about later. So yeah, it's really awesome. And the community is growing. So on PhoneGap.com, we've had over 10 million visits in the last year to the website. So the reason I mention this is just to show that PhoneGap is growing, it's popular, people are stoked on it. But PhoneGap.com is a bunch about just promoting the actual framework as much as it is about promoting the community. So there's lots of ways to get involved. We like having guest bloggers. There's a community release notes you can fork and update on GitHub, and we'll pull that into the blog. There's ways to promote your apps. We're working on ways to promote your plugins and yourself. So, if you have ideas for what you'd like to see on PhoneGap.com, definitely reach out. We want it to be as much about the community as about just the code that's out there, because there's lots of crazy stuff going on in the PhoneGap community. Also, over 1 million downloads. That was in the 1.0 to kind of 2x time frame, and that's not slowing down at all. So, if you're ever concerned about who's using this, is like lots of people using it, companies big and small. It's just awesome to see that kind of growth. What thing is really interesting is 40% of the traffic, this probably correlates to downloads too, is non-English speakers. So this is traffic coming from China, India, Europe, and the rest of the world. So that is totally different than it was a year ago. A year ago, it was primarily English speakers coming to PhoneGap.com. So luckily at Adobe, we're getting more resources, working on translation, but it's also happening in the community too. People are translating Spanish and Chinese, and we're going to make that easier to do in the future too. So if you're interested in helping us translate so we can access more markets and open up to a wider group of developers, that just makes PhoneGap that much better. So it hasn't all been roses, of course. We had a bit of a snafu with naming when we made the contribution to the Apache Foundation. There was a bit of a smash and grab with Callback, and then finally settled on Cordova. So Cordova is the open source project, and Adobe PhoneGap is a distribution of that. So we're through that mess now. But if you are a contributor, you'll still see little glimpses of Callback sitting in there and links and whatnot. As soon as we get approved and voted into a top-level Apache project, it'll just all be Cordova for contributors, and then PhoneGap for people who just want to use the framework and build some apps. Good news at Apache, though, is we're killing issues. You can see our graph there is green, and it's growing, and we're closing issues. We have more contributors now than ever, so things are going really well. Like the 2.1 release, the main thing going on there is really, fixing bugs and making the platform better. We're not even really trying to add a lot of features there, so it's a very disciplined group too, sometimes. So I just wanted to give a shout out to some of the companies who are major contributors to the project. Again, this is growing a lot too. I think it was 2 years ago two and a bit years ago. IBM joined as like the first real contributor outside of Nitobi at the time, and now we kind of have the who's who of the tech and internet world contributing. And these are just core contributors. Of course, we work with companies like Facebook on the official Facebook plugin, and they're supporters of PhoneGap, and you'll hear a little bit more from Simon here in a minute. But it's really amazing to see all these companies behind it. It's not just an Adobe project. There's all these people working on it. So the other thing we're working on is build.phonegap.com. So PhoneGap Build is a hosted service. You're going to see more about that later. It's been in beta for really the better part of 2 years, and there's 100,000 users using PhoneGap Build now, and the release is imminent, I promise. You will be able to use this as a commercial service very, very soon. So that's really exciting. Really takes the pain out of compiling and setting up all your different SDKs. So of course, it's awesome to have a cool framework and lots of people using it, but if there weren't great apps built with it, what's it worth? But companies like Wikipedia, Zynga, and startups like Untapped, Gree. So there's lots of cool, interactive apps being built with it. There's enterprise apps, there's small games, there's pretty much everything you can imagine. You'll hear about a really great app later today called Gather, which is, I think, a really great example of an awesome PhoneGap app for kind of local networking. Of course, we still have to deal with this web versus native debate, which I'm sure you guys all saw in the last week has been maybe a thorn in our sides for some of us who really believe in the web. I think generally this is trending towards people are agreeing with the web, and it's easier to sell it and convince people that's the way to go. We're always going to have setbacks, and I think we have to just keep fighting. But over time, the web is going to get better, and I think it is just the logical way to build things. One thing that's cool about being at Adobe now is we have a lot of contributions going on directly to WebKit. So on PhoneGap, we can let you build applications that operate like a native app on the device, which is great. But now we're actually contributing to WebKit, so like the core of what's running our HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So we can make improvements there that'll make your apps even better. So that's awesome. So that's pretty much it for me. I want to thank some of our sponsors here, and hope we can all have a beer later. Thanks very much.